If you have a good story, then you want to be able to sum it up in a single 1 or 2 sentence pitch. And if you can't do that, then that means you haven't really gotten to the heart or essence of your story yet. Thankfully, I have found a way to use AI to actually help you with this process, and it's also surprisingly a fantastic way to brainstorm new novel ideas. Let's get into it. So the thing that I'm talking about here is the logline, specifically what Blake Snyder talks about with loglines in his book, Save the Cat. If you haven't read Save the Cat yet, it's a fantastic book. I'll link to it below, but it is one of my favorite books on the structure of storytelling and one that everybody should definitely pick up. This is a blog post from the Save the Cat website, and it puts the whole logline in a nutshell as this formula right here. Someone, the protagonist, wants something, the story goal, and goes after it against great odds and or obstacles, meaning the antagonist and the conflict. And that's the basic concept, right? But there's a little bit more to it. For instance, Blake Snyder talks about irony. There should be an ironic element to it. For instance, a struggle that the protagonist faces in themselves happens to be the exact sort of thing that they have to struggle against in the story. For instance, you have someone who is an arachnophobe having to go up against giant spiders. That's an ironic sort of relationship, and it's really good to have an ironic element in the logline. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a 2-part chain of thought prompt. And we're going to do so in all 3 of the major chatbots. We're going to look at this in GPT-4, we're going to look at this in Claude 3, and we're going to look at this in Gemini Advanced. So the first prompt we're going to give it is, what do you know about Blake Snyder's loglines? If I go ahead and set that going in ChatGPT, and then we'll also do it here using Claude 3, specifically Claude 3 Opus. Then I'll also run it through using Gemini Ultra in Gemini Advanced. All right, so let's take a look at the output here. It gave us a decent overview of the loglines. It's clear that ChatGPT and the others know what a logline is. It mentions the irony here, having a compelling mental picture, a bunch of other things that are mentioned. I wouldn't say not all of these are included in the logline, but it did get the gist of it. Claude 3, the same thing. Claude 3 failed to recognize the irony part of it, but it did give us an example here from Die Hard. A cop comes to LA to visit his estranged wife, and her office building is taken over by terrorists. Not actually that close to what a logline is, so could have done a little bit better. Gemini was surprised me by being actually pretty good. It mentioned all of the elements of a logline: the protagonist, the antagonist, the conflict, irony, mental image, all of that stuff. So it did pretty well here. So now we're going to give this a second prompt. And to do that, we're going to go to this blog post and make sure we grab this template here, because I want to make sure it's writing in this template no matter what. And we say, using the following template and your knowledge of the loglines, give me 10 potential loglines for a science fiction beach romance. And then we simply add in the little template there and hit go. And we're going to run this prompt in all 3 major models. So here are a few from ChatGPT. A marine biologist discovers an ancient alien artifact on a remote beach. In her quest to uncover its secrets, she finds herself falling for the mysterious guardian tasked with protecting it, setting off a galactic conflict. So there's definitely conflict, definitely protagonist. After a shipwreck on an alien planet with beaches of shifting sand, a lone astronaut must navigate an unfamiliar world and its enigmatic inhabitants to find a way home, only to be torn between the love of an alien who saved him and the desire to return to Earth. So these aren't too bad. They aren't necessarily following what I would say is a good logline in general, but they aren't bad, and certainly a lot better than the kind of output that you would get just by asking ChatGPT for ideas. Let's see what Claude gave us. A lonely astronaut crash lands on a mysterious beach planet and falls in love with a stranded alien, but their interspecies romance is threatened by a looming supernova. That's actually not too bad right there. A time-traveling scientist arrives at a crucial moment in her past where she must choose between saving her beloved from a tragic beach accident or preserving the future. Again, you got that little bit of that sense of irony with this being a time-traveling scientist and then having to choose between someone she loves and preserving the future. So it's getting some of this. And I'd say Claude 3 definitely wins out over ChatGPT in terms of the quality of these ideas from what I can see. Let's take a look at Gemini. A reclusive alien researcher yearning for human connection falls for a spirited surfer defying intergalactic laws and risking her lifelong mission. A heartbroken time traveler stranded in a beach town seeks solace in the arms of a local artist, unaware their whirlwind romance could alter the timeline forever. That seems very similar to what Claude gave us. A mermaid princess, desperate to explore the human world, disguises herself to win the heart of a handsome lifeguard, jeopardizing her secret and the safety of her undersea kingdom. So basically the Little Mermaid. And these are not too bad as well. I would say both Claude and Gemini did better than ChatGPT in this instance. And I've tested this with past versions of Claude, and Claude did not do as well. And so I was actually, in the past, I would have said Gemini is surprisingly the best one at doing these log lines. And it still is. It's still really good at doing the log lines. But if you have Claude 3, access to Claude 3, it seems that it is just as good, if not maybe slightly better, for this specific task. That's why I wanted to try all three, so I could demonstrate that for you. So that is the general gist, using Blake Snyder's log lines in order to create story ideas. Additionally, what you can do is take your story idea, kind of explain the essence of the story, and then say, bring this down into a log line according to Blake Snyder. So for instance, I'm going to take the entire book description of one of my books here. I'm going to run it into Claude just for demonstration and say, given the following book description, create a log line for this book. Style of Blake Snyder. Then I paste the book description here and run that. In a world filled with magic, a young girl with seemingly worthless powers must unlock her true potential and embark on a dangerous quest to save her mother and the kingdom from the clutches of evil demons and the mysterious Shadow Fae. Yeah, that's not too bad. I like the addition of the worthless powers, because that adds that sort of ironic twist to it and is consistent with my story. So yeah, this is a really good way to try and narrow down your story even further so that you have something that you can easily pitch as what your story is about. Now, I want to note also that my membership is actually still open. Even though I mentioned over a week ago that I was closing it, I actually changed my mind around the same time that video went out. I had recorded it a week prior and decided that I wasn't going to close it down, but I am going to increase the price. I made that decision, and that is happening at the end of this week. So if you haven't signed up for my membership already, it will be going up from $27 a month to $37 a month at the end of this week. So be sure to get in on it now, so you won't have to pay that price. And when the price goes up, you will still keep the old price that you signed up under. So be sure to check that out right now, and I will see you in the next video.